So, a couple of episodes ago, I remember I was busy talking about guys and retaining guys, and I spoke about how simple it is for a babe to actually retain a guy. And I even gave all the pointers on what exactly to focus on that would probably cover like 60, 70, possibly even 80% of getting a guy and or retaining him. But unfortunately, it seems like there's still quite a number of women that are finding new and interesting ways to try and retain a guy that may not even want to be with them. Like the one whose clip I'm about to play. And while I'm very pro relationship and I do like to keep things as simple as possible, it's unfortunate that on this particular episode I have to do the one thing that I rarely do, especially on this podcast, and say something that I've avoided saying both on this podcast and off mic for a very, very long time. But before I can get into any of that, well, my man, as I should have started with an intro, welcome to the Breakdown Podcast, where I talk about love, sex, and relationships from a guy's perspective, as well as a bunch of other guy shit. The man on the mic is Denver B. This is a much simpler, much shorter, much more raw, less edity version of the podcast. And I usually like to do these ones whenever I'm on break so that, I can fill in for the time before I can go back to doing the regular episodes. So that I can take some R&R, while I feed you guys some content. And speaking of content, there was a video that was shared on Twitter that was actually from TikTok, which had been posted up by a lady known as Laureen Tesoti, which was intended to give women advice on men, or at least some aspects of men, and I thought I'd agree with it the moment I clicked on it, and all of a sudden things just went downhill after like the 15th second. Now, I'm gonna play the entire clip for you. It's about 2 minutes 20, so a little bit longer than I normally do, but for the sake of what she's trying to say, or at least the general idea that she's giving women, I feel like it needs to be played out, not only so that I can debunk whatever the hell she's saying, but because all of this goes back to a problem that I was trying to talk about a couple of episodes ago, but it seems like a lot more women need to hear the message. So, without further ado...
When you cheat back on a man, the only man who you are hurting is your dad for raising such a disappointment. And for you not to be a disappointment, let me educate you this. Don't even go removing your panties to anyone. Don't go at we am a cheat, I'm going to remove my panties. Don't. Just go, nunua family planning, blend even like a smoothie for like 1 week. Of course, family planning haina harufu for 1 week. And then when you blend it for 1 week, the guy ataanza kuwa na hormone imbalance, ataanza kunona vibaya. Here's the proof. So, don't be stupid. You go cheating back while you can do this. You understand? When you give a man family planning, atakuwa na shida ya withdrawal. Atakuwa hadi anashindwa kumbao. Nini, don't think here. Don't think here. Think there. Think wide. Like, think wide. You understand? You understand? And atamea matiti. Imeandikwa hapo. Atamea matiti, literally. And then, make sure umetoka hapo kama amenona vibaya sana ama matiti zake zimekuwa kubwa sana. And then body shame him. Hakuna demu mwenye atamchukua na hizo matiti. And then keep on telling him, unajua, imagine ni mimi peke yangu nilikuwa nakupenda na hizi matiti zako kubwa kubwa. Body shame him. Chukua hizo boxers zake, peleka kwa fundi wafinye, mwambie we, na siku hizi umekuwa na matako, ama siku hizi unakulanga nyuma. Now accuse him of being gay. Done. That man will never even look back at any other woman. Or do this. When you cook for him, spit on his food. Thank me later and mwone akikula chakula. No bars.
Okay. What the fuck is going on? How the hell did we move to the point where women are actually putting female contraceptives in men's meals or smoothies? Like, how the hell did we get to this point? Like, why the hell are we going for shit like this? Like, nigga, what? Come on, bruh. Like, is it really that bad though? Like, is you wanting him to stop cheating instead of you. Come on, bruh. Like, have we fallen this far down as a society, though? Like, have we really, really fallen this far down? Now, granted, I will at least acknowledge the one thing that she said that I agree with. The whole you cheating on your partner because your partner cheated on you is a dumb idea. That one I agree. Disgrace to your father is a nice way to kind of put it, but personally I feel like it's a dumb idea because you're not cheating for you, you're cheating because of someone else, which I don't know if you're even gonna get pleasure from the entire thing, but damn. Like, are you really, really that lacking in your own agency though? But anyways, all that aside, because that was literally like 10 seconds, if not 20, everything that she said here, first of all, I will go into talking about how bullshit it is, but honestly, it's just, this is one of those many, many reasons why I stand with guys who are like fear women. Like, it's not even just the stuff they do on the streets, it's the stuff that they can do in the house. It's the kind of weird, wacky, and sometimes very, very wicked shit that some women can do in the household as well. But anyways, that aside, so was what she was saying about the contraceptive thing entirely true? About it, like giving like guys tits and making it such that our penises or our privates don't work all that great? Well, possibly. I'm not entirely sure about the whole, withdrawal and its capability to, like work, but that one is very possible. The weight gain is also quite possible as well. It does happen with women that way, so I'm guessing at least for some men that's very possible. I can't say for all of them. Then also, the very diabolical shit that she decided to go into about, like having his boxers, like tightened so that, the guy feels like he's gained weight, then you use it to fat shame him and tell him that you've stuck with him even though he's big. Like, all of that is incredibly, incredibly diabolical and just absolutely wicked. This is one of those things that you want to describe as pure evil, but you can't because you know that there's worse. But back to what she was saying about, like mixing in the contraceptives with his diet, like for the babes that might be thinking of doing this, do you actually understand the temporary situation that you might be putting yourselves in? Because you think about it, if dude gains a bunch of weight and he gets to a point where he's not eating at home as much, like, what tells you that if he decides to, go and like do his nyama outside of the house and he decides to eat out a bunch of times, that he won't lose weight and start attracting the same women that you were hoping so much that will not be attracted to him? Like, who says that the reverse can't happen as well? Because who says that, the contraceptives won't make him hornier? Like, granted, yes, they are for women, but considering that they do have very varied effects with women, hormonal birth control, or at least hormonal contraceptives, can also have different effects on men. Now imagine if the man suddenly gets horny and now even starts screwing more women, or he moves up from just getting a random babe here and there to full-on prostitutes. You don't know jack shit about that actually happening. But even though I could be wrong about the whole, like becoming horny and moving up to prostitutes and shit, like, why go through so much of this shit just to retain a cheating man? Like, I'm not saying that, like men who cheat are the absolute filth of the earth and they should never be tolerated, blah, blah, blah. Like, by all means, there are men who cheat and they are genuinely good fathers and genuinely good contributors to society and so on and so forth. It's just like they like a little bit of pussy on the side. But why go through such lengths to retain a man who's cheating if it repulses you that much? Like, are you telling me that there's absolutely no other option that you can go through? Because honestly, I feel like there's some things that we probably shouldn't be trying to get off of TikTok. Like, when you actually think about it, there's women who are going onto the internet, or at least more so, they're hopping onto TikTok to find new and interesting ways to retain a cheating man who may or may not be interested in them, and they're willing to take and also implement the advice there, bullshit or not. Do some of y'all feel like it's that hard to retain a man or to get one that you guys have to resort to, I don't know, TikTok medical fixes and TikTok magic and witchcraft? Because the last time I was busy discussing something of this particular nature, it was involving a bunch of women who had been making videos and posting up on TikTok under the guise of quote-unquote blood magic, where they were busy discussing, oh no, you write your man's name on like a serviette or like a piece of paper, and then you let your period blood drip on it, or oh no, you mix your period blood with like his drink or some shit. Like, they were busy talking about random shit like this, and I was busy talking about how it's not that hard to retain a dude. Not getting him to cheat, that's a different story, definitely. And, it won't exactly work on every single guy, but retaining a man, getting a man, is actually not that hard. Like, you don't have to go through all of this shit. You do not have to go through this kind of blood magic, TikTok witchcraft type shit. You don't have to go through this fake medical type shit. Like, if you really want to retain a guy, it's actually very simple. And there's like 4 things that you need to do to actually like get 60, 70, possibly even 80% of the way towards retaining the guy. And it's not like they're particularly hard things. Hell, our mothers probably did only 3 of these things and have managed to not only keep but also retain our fathers for a particularly long time. At least for those of ours that are either still alive and or still married. And I will be more than happy to tell it to y'all again, like I said a bunch of episodes ago, because clearly there are some women that need to understand this a little bit more, and there's a lot of women who probably don't know, but for the most part, it seems like there's a lot of women that are overcomplicating something that is incredibly simple. Because 1, you just have to respect him, 2, give him peace, 3, feed him, and 4, fuck him. It's literally those 4 things. You respect him, give him peace, feed him, fuck him. It's literally those 4 things. If you do the 4, you will get this guy 70% of the way towards being retained, possibly 75, maybe even 80 if they're particularly simple guys with simple tastes. And you'll probably have this guy sticking to you, and not unless if the guy has, particular proclivities of, getting pussy from other places. Most times guys will just stick around. Like, we're actually not that hard to take care of. Yes, there's the other percentages, which is for emotional intimacy and care and, like the ability to be vulnerable and, like feeding into his ego so that he can feel like a leader and shit. Like, you can go into all of those other nitty gritties later, but if you can fulfill the 4 things first, you could probably get yourself most of the way towards retaining a dude. All right. So to go through all of this shit, it actually kind of feels a little bit unnecessary. Actually, not even a little bit, incredibly unnecessary, and in some cases downright unhealthy and possibly even dangerous to someone's life. And yet, for the most part, you don't even need to do all that much. Like, you don't. Trust me. I'm saying this as a man. And I may be considered young, I may be considered a toddler, I may be considered, too young to say anything, but at least I know for most guys, this is the very simple formula to actually retaining them. Now, of course, if the guy is cheating so much and it's such a problem for you and you can't come to terms with it and none of this is working, then you also have another option, which I never usually recommend. But if it's that big of an issue for you, just leave. Like, it's unfortunate that I have to sound like one of those best friends that usually receive all of the hell, or at least all of the tea after some babe has broken up with her mans, and just be like, you know what, just leave, sis. You don't have to stay there. At least in a lot of cases, you don't really have to stay with a dude. If you have to stay with a dude, I feel like there's other ways to get around it than either having to drug the guy, having to do some sort of blood magic, or just resorting to some garbage that's on TikTok trying to tell you how to retain a man, besides the simple act of actually caring for the man. And to kind of conclude this entire thing, let me just tell the ladies, if you really feel the need to use such tactics to retain a guy, then either you're forcing a bad issue, of which quite a number of y'all are, or you're just not doing things right. You're not catering towards the man's needs as he is asking for them. Either way, resorting to such methods is just downright diabolical, very, very evil to say the least. And honestly, if you're really being pushed to this level, you might need to have yourself checked, because you might actually be a crazy bitch. Although, then again, I might be wrong about all of this, so I want your thoughts on it. The DMs are open. On IG, it is at the Breaktime _podcast. On Facebook, it is at the Breaktime Podcast. And on X, it is at Bagaka the D. Thank you so much for listening all the way till the end, and I will catch you guys on the next break.